When I make a reaction video, and yes, this is a reaction video, a lot of people comment, "You're mean." So if your definition of mean is pointing out lies, bad methodology, and outright myths of high-end audio, then this video and this channel isn't for you. For those of you still with me, I don't dislike the people I call out. I've never met them. Some have shown some real change, like Andrew Robinson, who no longer hears that Yamaha sound. No, he doesn't credit me, but I don't do this for praise. I do it for you, the viewer. Lastly, all these snake oil reviewers will hide behind a caveat saying, "I'm just telling you what I heard. Your mileage may vary. You should make the final choice if you think this product is worth the price." What a cop-out. With my infinite rating system, you know exactly what a product is worth. And to give myself that credit that Andrew Robinson won't, the Scientific Audiophile is the only channel with an infinite rating system. No two products can ever be tied. Only 2 weeks ago, I put out a short titled Audiophile Snobbery, where I mocked the hi-fi myth that better sound comes exclusively from paying more money. So when I started watching Tweak Week on YouTube channel Passion for Sound, instead of getting tweaks to better my sound, like you might have a slightly warped record, so you might want to use a record weight. Instead, we got cables, all kinds of cables, but they all had one thing in common. They were expensive. Worse was every single review picked the more expensive cable as sounding better. We're talking a $400 1 meter cable just can't compete with an $800 cable. Let's check out this clip.
So it's going to be around about $800 for one of these cables, not at all cheap. And then if you compare that to something like the Supras that I'm running, which are about half the price, this is going to have to do a really good job to impress me enough to say that I think it's worth it.
Now take my word for it. Later in the video, the $800 power cable certainly sounded better than the $400 one. And while he doesn't say it, I'm going to say it for him. If you're using a stock power cable that came with your $15,000 Macintosh power amp, you're a fucking idiot. Let's check out a quick look at his USB shootout cables.
And so I'm keen to put it up against a couple of others that I've got here in the Curious Evolved USB and also the Tubulus Concentus USB. Now I'm going to start off with the Tubulus Concentus cable because so far that's the very best cable that I've tried.
What he means to say isn't that this is the best USB cable he's ever tested. He means it's the most expensive USB cable he's ever tested. And yes, this more expensive cable beat out the Tellurium USB cable he was testing because, well, it costs more. So this brings us to two very important points. The first point is the myth that more expensive equals better. There's a lot of expensive junk on the market that performs no better than products that cost 1/10 or even 1/30 their price point. Clearly at Passion for Sound, the reviewer believes the myth that price equals quality. If you want to be entertained, watch his cable reviews and you'll notice the more expensive cable always is the better one. Now I'm sure after he watches this reaction video, he'll test an amazing $200 cable that is better than a $500 cable and oh so close to the quality of a $1,000 cable. But I'm not here to be mean. I'm here to help. So in a couple of his videos, he said the following.
It's frustrating because it doesn't make sense to me. I don't understand how the power coming into a device like the NEM AMP23R coming through a cable that's at the end of all the other cabling in my house, how that short length of cable can make any difference to the sound is beyond me, and yet it absolutely is.
Well, I'm going to explain it to Lachlan. The answer is psychoacoustics. You want to hear a difference, so you do. Which brings me to my second point. No one in the history of the world has passed a properly designed blind test comparing two power cables, or two RCA cables, or two speaker cables of the same gauge, or two USB cables. No one, not even when James Randi offered $1 million. That money was on the table for more than a decade until James passed away. So when Lachlan says this,
but if you had two identical setups and you could switch between them, I don't think it would even be close. I'm very comfortable with this one that I'm pretty sure you'd pick it even in a blind test. It's surprising, it's clear, it's obvious.
He thinks he can easily pass a blind A/B test because it won't even be close. I will happily put $100,000 of my father's money on the line if Lachlan can pass a blind test, and I won't even ask for $100,000 if Lachlan fails. I'll just ask for $10,000. Let's be clear. If this is true,
Even in a blind test, it's surprising, it's clear, it's obvious.
it won't even be close. Then he's not really putting $10,000 on the line, and my dad is just going to lose $100,000. Let his Patreon subscribers fund his trip to the States after we work out all the details of how the test will be conducted and recorded. Well, am I being mean? Maybe a little, but only because this isn't some guy you met at a bar telling you how great an $800 power cable is. This is an influencer with 35,000 subscribers telling them all that you can completely waste your money by buying these cool cables. Let me repeat, no one in the history of the world has ever been able to tell two power cables apart, assuming the power cables are capable of carrying the load the equipment needs. To try to be nice, I do believe he actually thinks he hears a difference. Fancy jacketed cables that are priced very expensively make many people want to believe the marketing these companies use to advertise them. Sadly, because these reviewers are so prone to psychoacoustics, every review they make is tainted. They want to believe a $10,000 power amp is better than a $5,000 power amp, that a $3,000 preamp bests a $1,000 preamp, and so on. Because if they believe an $800 power cable sounds different than a $400 power cable, which in turn sounds different than a generic cable that came with the equipment, then they are so prone to psychoacoustics that everything they review is prone to the same problem, making all their reviews garbage. Yes, that last statement was mean, but not wrong. I hope just one person watching this video saves their money and does not purchase any cables. Unless, oh yes, boys and girls, I'm going to caveat that statement. Unless you need some type of additional shielding because of RF or some other type of interference, unless you need a specific length, unless you just don't want crap cables with poor connectors that break after multiple swaps. This happened to yours truly with my generic phono cables that got stuck inside my amp. Yeah, I'll link to that at the end of this video. Unless you want a more pliable cable or one that is in-wall rated. Those items I just mentioned are legitimate reasons to buy a non-generic cable, but sound quality isn't one of them. So please do not believe the myth that there is a difference between cables. Do not believe the myth that price equals sound quality, even if the reviewer talks smoother than I do, or in the off chance has a better smile. And no, these reviewers aren't evil, and they aren't lying. They genuinely believe the myths they perpetuate. Unfortunately, they're selling snake oil and need to be called out for it. Thanks for watching this edition of the Scientific Audiophile.